everyone, it's Holmes from Home Storybooks, and I am here today to share with you some reading recommendations if you liked Shira and the Princesses of Power. Shira and the Princesses of Power, if you don't know, is about Adora, a young woman who discovers the ability to Sailor Moon herself into Shira. Adora and her many friends then go on adventures to save various kingdoms from the encroaching evil horde. Full of diverse characters, meaningful storylines, and super fun, fast episodes, I love this series a whole lot. Let's start with The Cardboard Kingdom by Chad Sell. This is a beautiful and vibrant middle-grade graphic novel about neighborhood kids who roleplay in the streets in the style of D&D over one summer, using cardboard and their local street as the kingdom. It has the same sort of emotional gravitas as Shira and the Princesses of Power, the same punching colors. What I love about the show and this graphic novel is how fast the pacing is, but also how, with each different perspective, you get to learn a little more about characters, and maybe the person you thought was evil is not so evil after all. It has great emotional intensity, even though it's simple. The dialogue is really sparse, but it still packs a punch. Definitely one of my favorite reads of 2019. These next two are by the same author, and they are The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill and Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill. The Tea Dragon Society is definitely my favorite of the two. What I loved about The Tea Dragon Society was its level of detail, both in the art style but also in the world building. I can tell how much thought there was put into the world building, but it's not so overwhelming, as it sometimes happens in fantasy. It has a super soft, tender story, much like Shira and the Princesses of Power. It's Moorish, queer, with lots of representation and adorable fantasy elements. What more do you want? I can't wait to read the second, and now the third in the series, The Tea Dragon Festival and The Tea Dragon Tapestry. Princess Ever After is a little bit younger and the one I was a little bit disappointed in. However, I still wanted to include it because the themes of this comic and this show are pretty similar. It's about two princesses, the sweet Princess Sadie and the heroic Princess Amira, who have very cool hair. They defy society's expectations, fall in love, go on wild adventures, accumulating friends along the way. They are each other's complements, they both have strengths and weaknesses and work together to defeat evil. It's a really heartwarming story with Katie's great illustrations. I felt a little disappointed by the shallow nature of the plot, but I could not include it. This next one is Heavy Vinyl by Carly Usdin, Rebecca Nalty, and Nina Bakueva. This is all about a teen feminist vigilante fight club set in the 90s in a record store. It feels a little bit like Josie and the Pussycat Dolls or Scooby-Doo, but like refreshed and modern, even though it's dripping with nostalgia, which is part of what makes it feel great. The reason I chose this for Shira and the Princesses of Power was, of course, for its feminist and queer content, but also because it has the nostalgia of the original show in 1985. I love it when things are nostalgic, but also with fewer stereotypes, a tighter storyline, and not as clunky. Thank God a second volume is coming out in 2020. My heart can't take waiting much longer. This next one is by the show creator's spouse. It is The Witch Boy by Molly Ostertag. This is all about Aster, who is supposed to grow up to be a shapeshifter like their father. However, they love witchcraft and desperately want to study it. Gender binaries are strictly enforced, broken, and there's all sorts of magic, creatures, and family drama. I liked this a lot. I really enjoyed both the art style and the beats in the story. I liked Aster's character. I thought the colors were bright and the message overall was very thoughtful and sweet. My one critique would be the representation of First Nations people in this graphic novel. It felt a little bit appropriative, both in terms of sacred imagery, utilizing animals, and ceremonies. I sent the author an email and she replied very quickly to her credit and said that she tried to incorporate magic from every culture around the world to really bring the book to life, and that if it felt appropriative or if it didn't come across correctly, then it was her bad. The reason I bring it up at all is because up until very recently, Indigenous people were not allowed to partake in or lead sacred ceremonies of any kind, and even today we still see ramifications of those laws and policies where Indigenous friends of mine have the damaged deposits revoked because the landlord is certain they smudged or cleansed with sacred smoke in the house when they never actually smudged in there at all. I am still unsure if she utilized sensitivity readers while writing this work, and hope that she would consider doing so for future volumes. I also don't want to speak over racialized people or be the authority on whether or not this book is problematic, so feel free to decide that for yourself. Nevertheless, it is a brilliantly, brightly colored, gender binary breaking tale just like Shira, so if that's your thing, give it a read. The only actual book in this collection is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is a book all about a little girl who accidentally drinks moonlight instead of starlight and is overwhelmingly powerful. Unable to control her magic, a witch Zan puts a charm over her in order to stop her from accessing those powers until she turns 13. A whole cast of charming magical characters come on board for a wild, generation-sprawling adventure. What I love about this book, and why I think it's similar to the series, is there's some real wisdom in this book. The characters are complicated, flawed, but you really do cheer for them all. There's also the notion of the little girl trying to understand her incredible power, which is similar to Adora and Shira. Two other books that would fit well in here are The Witch's Boy or The Iron-Hearted Violet, also by Barnhill. They're both about prophecies, dragons, magical kingdoms collapsing, loss, love, and the power of friendship. This list wouldn't be complete without some Noelle Stevenson recommendations. Noelle is the Shira and Princesses of Power's developer, so if you love the show, you'll probably love some of her backlist too. Starting with Lumberjanes Volume 1, Beware the Kitten Holy, 5 scouts go on a summer camp and have some seriously wacky adventures. Three-eyed foxes, spooky caves, and even more secrets await them in this vivid and fast-paced adventure story. Lastly, I'd love to recommend a book I just finished reading recently, and that was Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. I'd put off reading this one for years, honestly, because the writing in the speech bubbles is so small. It's tiny. Maybe I should have read it in a digital edition. That way I could have zoomed in. Nimona is the story of a young villain's sidekick, and she is a brilliant protagonist. Mischievous, eager to please, impulsive, and able to shapeshift, she really is the perfect sidekick. Alongside her villain, the clever, proper, and quiet villain Lord Blackheart, they vow to break open the kingdom's vault of secrets and reveal the truth once and for all. This was delightful. One thing that I love about Nimona is the way things are alluded to but not revealed right away. We get little peeks, rewards for our reading along the way, like breadcrumbs, pulling us closer and closer to a climactic ending. It was a really brilliant read, and I'm grateful I finally read it. But I am going to need a story about Lord Blackheart and Sir Ambrosius really soon. I totally forgot there is a book about Shira that just recently came out called Legends of the Fire Princess, written by Gigi DG and with art by Pauline Genacho, who is one of my favorite artists. It is all about Adora's growing ability as Shira, which includes being able to heal corrupted runestones. The princesses go on a quest to retrieve the legendary fire runestone, which belonged to a princess who was corrupted by its power, avoiding the evil horde all the while. This just came out February 4th of this year. That's it, that's all for these recommendations. Have you watched Shira? No spoilers, but let's talk in the comments below. Talk to you soon. Bye everyone!